Caroline, is my voice okay? Is it audible?
Yes, I can hear you, and we are live.
Okay.
I just want to check.
Okay.
I just want to check whether it's actually showing. Um,
Okay. Navika, I got a bit of a sore throat.
yeah, yeah, it's perfect. Your voice sounds amazing, as do you. Um,
Ah,
I think we are live, so let's probably get started. This is a very deep topic, so welcome into this space. We are live today, live on YouTube. Let me first start by talking about and giving everyone a context to what we are doing today. So, the recognition of the topic of this series of the podcast and the series that we are curating in this is about the inner standing and the understanding of energy. And energy is, we everything is energy. But as we continue to recognize how we can harness energy more intentionally in a way that expresses itself specifically to this topic of bringing in feminine energy, and why it's relevant right now in our world today, in our lives on an everyday basis, in our workplaces, in our relationships. I'm very excited to welcome our first guest, a very dear soul sister, Rahila Khan. Rahila, before I make introductions about you, would you like to say hi to everyone watching in?
yes. Hi, Caroline. Thank you so much for affording me this opportunity to share, the work that I do on a daily basis, but also to share in the perspective of the topic and bring in more enlightenment and more knowledge in terms of our evolution as women and men. Thank you
Beautiful.
so much for having me on your show.
Beautiful. And it's such an honor to have you, Rahila. I know I've grown to know you and respect you and honor you as a human being, but also the woman who, I believe embodies so much of what we are unpacking through this series. So I'm very excited to have you on. For all of you watching in, a brief, and actually, this intro does not do justice to Rahila's work, but something that will give you a brief insight before we unpack some of the themes and practices that we want to showcase on this podcast. So Rahila Khan is an advocate in transformational leadership of love, beginning with the self first, facilitating home-based leadership with entire families, developing CEOs of all ages. Her wealth of skill sets extends into business and professional coaching, as well as community upliftment programs using proven self development strategies in unlocking human potential. That is quite profound. And I know for anyone who's really tapped in and operating from the energetics of what we are wanting to unpack here, will get how deep you are, because this is kind of what we aim to do to recognize that we are multidimensional and there are so many aspects to our being, our beingness, our isness. And the work that you do, the work that I do as well, is more more and more, uh, I would say, valuable in today's world. Um, so I want to kind of dovetail into this theme. I know we were talking briefly backstage before we actually got live, but for me, as I step back into this theme of feminine energy, I this has been something in my heart and in my, in my part of my inner being for quite a long time. But I didn't know how to, actually delve into this in a way that can not just help me feel better educated and better empowered, but also spread the knowledge, the wisdom that I am learning with the world and with our communities. And I started to see so much of the contrast and the disconnect in the world with respect to masculine energy and feminine energy and how it's expressing itself. While I know that you're an idealist while you are a practitioner, Rahila, and so am I. And we have this sort of North Star of how we would love to sort of facilitate these experiences. And I believe it's through these kind of experiences where we open up a dialogue and we invite people in to share space, and to become more aware that maybe because things are not working, it's because of how we're showing up, and our energy and the things that we don't know. And this is one line that I continue to be reminded of. We can do better when we know better, because we become more discerning and we have the wisdom to access. So I want to open it up, by through this context to you, Rahila. While we talk about feminine energy, where and how do you see feminine energy expressing itself in today's day and age?
In order to address this, we have to go back in time. I feel sometimes we got to address the past to come to the present and evolve into the future. As you know, we are the best architects of designing our lives. So, in going to the past, as you know, every religion will teach this, even science will talk about this. Every human being comes from, the seed of male and female at the time of conception. And that's where it all starts. However, going back in centuries before, I think there wasn't this level of awareness of how children are conceived. And if you really look back, the truth of the matter is that society, as well as the generations before, always revered the boy child. And, the boy child had to be the first child. And if the woman did not, have a boy child, and if she had a girl child, she was kind of judged and ostracized by her immediate family, but also by society. And she was made to be seen like she's not good enough. She's an unfit woman because she didn't give birth to a boy child. I think it all starts there in terms of how women were seen. And it's a pattern that we are carrying in our DNA and what we picked up in our environment, of the spoken word. And as you know, the spoken word takes a life of its own. So if at the time of conception, the woman is placed under so much stress and duress to have a boy child, can you imagine she had no one to talk to, Caroline?
Yeah.
Who is she going to talk to? And the worst part of it is, at that time, there was no science and technology to determine the sex of the child. As we know scientifically, the first 6 weeks, there's no sex. It's just neutral. So the spoken word by parents and society is boy, child, the heir to the throne, the leader for the army. And that's where the focus was. So internally, as you know, the biochemistry picks that up. And then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy in how that happens. And this is why our world today, well, for eons now, is so male-dominated, because the preference was always given to the male child. And then the women felt less than, she felt inadequate, she felt not good enough. Imagine how it damaged her self-esteem, her self-worth, her self-image. And we are still healing from all of our ancestral lineage in terms of the toxic generational patterns and pathologies that we are carrying within us. So for as long as we don't begin to heal from there, how is our external environment going to change? As you know, change begins within us. And therefore, for me, when I became a practitioner, my background is I'm an educationist as well, with working with children for 20 years in a classroom. I felt that a grave injustice was done to children because nobody cared about their feelings, their souls, and that broke my heart to see children coming to school. They could learn and they could achieve very well, but nobody took care of their emotional state. And that is when I made it a mission to do what I'm doing now, some 30 years now. And therefore, for me, it starts with CEO of Self, becoming Chief Executive Officer of Self. And this starts with the mother in the home. All my case studies have shown when I worked with women and children, the fathers rehabilitated with them. And they eventually booked sessions and came to me in healing the past. So when you're looking at where does a feminine energy resonate, where does it resonate? It resonates with Mother Earth.
Mm-hmm.
That's the source of all life. That's the source of creativity. Am I right?
Absolutely. I'm
That's
smiling.
where,
It's so powerful what you're saying. And, it speaks to me personally as well. We have forgotten how powerful this planet and the vibrations of this planet are.
yes, yes. And look at how abundant Mother Nature is. She's
Mm,
giving birth to fruits. Of course, it's all male and female and what have you. But they don't go into all the dark side and shadow side and make a big story about it. She just carries on birthing fruits and plants and flowers. And I think for me, that's where it all starts when we start looking at ourselves, our biology, in who we are, and start creating a new biology. Because the more we release all these toxic patterns, as you know, our entire biochemistry changes. You start feeling different because you know you are not that. You are not what somebody else told you. You are not somebody else's words and beliefs. You start
mm,
creating your own. And that's what creates a new neural pathways in the brain. And I think, you know this from doing NLP work in
mm,
how that can shift very quickly.
mhm.
So I think in looking at feminine energy, it's a basis of creativity. It's a basis of all life when
Wow.
you look at it.
Wow. I'm
It
actually
really is.
feverishly to capture what you're saying so that, we have these lovely banners with what you're saying. Feminine energy is the basis of all of life. That is so powerful.
Yes, it is. And if only we can acknowledge it, you know?
Yeah.
And once we come into that being feminine, somehow our souls came here to be in a feminine body. And if we embrace ourselves in totality, but here's the thing, Caroline. When you're looking at the female energy, and I know that's your next question in terms of male and female, and how do you get the balance right? If I can move to your next question,
Yeah.
okay? So here's the thing. I want to start off with this quote, and I started a conference 2 years ago, and we had 700 females. They were businesswomen and professionals, and I was one of the keynote speakers. And I started my talk, and this quote came to me the very week of the conference, and I changed my entire talk about it.
Mm.
And the quote reads like this. I'm sure you would have heard it, and even the listeners out there or those who are watching. Women are not rehab centers for badly raised men.
Oh, let me write that down. That
Women
is
are
so,
not
so important.
rehab centers for badly raised men.
Mm. How would you, so that line is a lot.
Right.
So
So
how
this
would
is
you,
where
yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
your next question is about how do you get the balance of male and female? How do we embrace the masculine?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. This is so sad in a way. Of course, when I first received that quote, I actually laughed. And at the conference, the women just laughed until I said, and who's responsible for these badly raised men? And the auditorium went silent because
Mm.
we are responsible for badly raised men.
Yeah.
Because at the time of conception, there was no great awareness of what we want.
Mm.
We were not educated and knowledgeable enough to say, you know what, whatever comes from God is coming from source energy, and whether it's male and female, I'm going to love this child unconditionally.
Mm.
And immediately the balance sets in at the time of conception. And this is why in my coaching, I work with young couples before marriage, during the pregnancy, and after the birth of the child,
Mm.
because we are redesigning the DNA in
Mm.
how we embracing the male and female.
So
And
beautiful.
these children yes, and the children that are born are way ahead of their time, as
Mm.
you can see with children these days, right? But when we're bringing a higher state of consciousness and awareness in the words that we speak as mothers,
Mm.
at the time of conception,
Mm.
even before you engage in the sexual act, I think a deep prayer needs to go, or a deep intention for a healthy child, irrespective of male and female. And
Yeah.
how then can we bring the balance
Mm-hmm.
of whether the man wants a boy child or whether the female wants a girl child, it's okay to have, each person view
Mm.
or express what they want, their viewpoint rather, right?
Yes.
And give their opinions of whatever. Isn't
Yeah.
that so much healthier? So those bundle of cells coming from the male and female, understand cells have intelligence. It
Mm.
picks up on the external environment. So any word spoken by male and female is then
Mm.
stored in the cell receptors at the
Yes.
time of conception. So
Mm.
it's so important to have self-awareness that at the time of conception that we both agree to have a child, even if it's a pregnancy that wasn't planned, to be
Mm.
more mindful of how you accept it rather than to have this big powwow of the male blaming the female. Why wasn't she on family planning? But you're supposed to be on family planning. How
Mm-hmm.
come you're not?
Mm.
And what happens? That bundle of cells have already picked up I'm not wanted and the rejection.
Mm.
That
Wow.
child comes
Beautiful.
into the world
Mm.
and has a belief system nobody loves me, I'm unwanted, and will always go through rejection. It
Mm.
happened to me. That
Mm.
happened to me because I wasn't a planned child, and my mom, shared that with me. And I never accepted myself. I always wanted to be someone else.
Yeah.
Throughout my childhood, into my teenage years, until I began doing this work.
Mm.
You have no sense of self, no sense of self esteem. You
Mhm.
don't know who you are. And
Yeah.
this is very important in asking the question, who am I? And
Yes.
I know from your post, one or two of your posts, you did ask that, who am I? Who
Mm-hmm.
am I really? And going back to in the way you started this podcast or this show is so powerful because you alluded to everything being energy in motion.
Yeah.
Can
Mm-hmm.
you see that? So
Yeah.
where then do we take on the identity of male and female? We are not that. We are
Mm.
more than that. We are
Yes.
shining potential.
Yeah.
And who am I? I am source energy. I'm Mother Earth. I'm creative source energy. I can create whatever I want, irrespective of my circumstances from where I came, whether I was accepted as male and female. Hello, no, I can change that and make me who I want to be. That's what I did for me.
Mm.
I redesigned my entire being to
Mm.
become who I am, you
Yeah.
know?
Mm-hmm.
So that is very, very important in bringing the balance of male and female. It starts there,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
However, you can't turn back the clock for all of those who are here now, you know?
Yes.
But
So
the
I
inner
want to
work,
ask you, because
sure.
you're kind of dovetailing into, the next part of this, because I think it's very important for people to understand. We know, like, that this is something that we ought to aspire to. But what's wrong right now? Where is the disconnect? Why is there so much of, you spoke historically about what's happening, but in the moment right now, across countries, there is so much of focus on masculine energy everywhere. So,
Yes.
so what is what are the greater reasons? Because what's coming up for me, and while it must be building up for you, is the whole idea of fear and belief. So what's your perspective and your experience on why this is happening right now?
Yes, that's a brilliant question. I love it because now we're getting to the root issues. Coming back to how women raise the badly raised men, right? As
Yeah.
women, we did not raise our boy child correctly in the home in
Mm,
respecting women,
mm,
in respecting girls.
mm,
Okay, they always have a sense of entitlement most of the time, the boy child, because
mm,
he's revered in the family.
mm.
Okay, even with inheritance, as you know, from a cultural societal perspective, even with inheritance,
Yeah.
the female is always disadvantaged.
Mm,
There's no fairness and justice.
yeah.
Okay, so we're carrying all of this, and therefore we're seeing the recurring patterns. That's our reality of seeing the recurring patterns now. However, someone like you and myself and others, we are addressing it in our own small way by
Mm,
making those changes within ourselves, because we can only change ourselves. We can't change all of humanity.
mm,
We can only do it one at a time.
Mm.
And the one person who makes the change, it shifts the entire consciousness
Yeah.
of where we're going. And it's good that we're seeing it. It's all coming up as though it's burning, itself out, as
Mm.
it were. It's reached its climax, as it were. So
Yes.
it's all good because, on one hand, that's the old earth and
Mm.
humanity. And we can see that, and we're saying no to that. Consciously, we're saying no to that. This is how a human being should be, ought to be, must be, with higher
Mm.
states of awareness and consciousness, and having higher human values of love, respect, gratitude, and so forth. So
Mm.
when we come into that space, you will find that a shift is happening. So it so happened when there is a shift happening of the good showing up, you also got to see the bad. And
Mm.
that's a reality as it's happening.
It's
So
ugly
in
though,
order for
no?
one,
It's ugly, and most of the time people
it
don't want to look
is.
at the shadow.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
But we can do it, on our own.
Yeah.
In how, we always say now, when we're posting and looking at business and all of that, we always talk about the new success. At one time, it was all about money and the hierarchy
Mm.
of a well known businessman, and he was seen for the amount of wealth he had accumulated.
Mm.
These days, yes, you can have that. There's nothing wrong with that. And I work with businessmen who are extremely wealthy, but what they're looking at is the human qualities, human values, which we're bringing into the workplace as well. So, how does the feminine energy then resonate now, like you asked? The reality is it's so male dominated. How do we play a part? We play a part when we bring the balance within us, when
Mm.
we walk into any organization or any place, people pick up on your energy.
Yes.
They
Yes,
see something
absolutely.
different about you and
Mm.
they say, wow, what is this lady all about? I want to know her. And that's what happens for me wherever I go. With the most astute businessmen that I work with in South Africa. And
Mm.
these are very male dominated businessmen,
Mm.
especially in the Muslim community. They're
Mm.
very patriarchal. And
Mm.
yet, when they do this work with me and we start releasing all the pent up hurt and pain, something changes.
Mm.
And then what happens when you come into the balance? It's like the feminine in them listens to Rahila, who's a feminine, and the
Mm.
masculine in me listens to them, who's a masculine, from
Mm.
their perspective.
Wow.
It's so crazy.
Now I know
Because
what
there's
you
no,
mean. That I'm kind of going through that, so I'm parallel processing, but it's so powerful that I'm hearing it from you because I'm on track. I mean, I'm so happy that you're talking about this because these are the practices that we all need to be mindful of, become more aware of, and start to really educate ourselves about the shift, the energetic transformational shift. I have to also add that you spoke very powerfully about cells and how they pick up information, between the parents and the environment, and that holds true for all of us, regardless of our age as well, because our cells are always listening to us, our inner dialogue,
yes,
and the kind of environment that we are fostering within ourselves. So it's so important to do the work, create the environment within so that it so automatically just radiates out.
yes. And one of your questions was about how do we take feminine energy into the workspace. This
Hmm.
is very powerful because I'm doing it and I can see the difference I'm making of a staff of 150 people,
Mm,
including the owners of the business coming down. There's 3 generations, it's a family business.
mm,
And it's truly super amazing to witness the change in how we are embracing our emotions, how we are bridging the gap from old and new in
mm.
terms of the third generation or the fourth generation to the first generation, of the grandfather or great grandfather. It's a
Yeah,
family business.
yeah.
And then how you take the new of innovation and technology and marry it with wisdom and experience.
Mm.
You see
So
that? But
beautiful.
the more important thing is when you come into emotional and spiritual intelligence, and these are the programs I bring to business and to everyone, even in the home, is that when we become emotionally intelligent and spiritually intelligent,
Mm.
then something changes within us because we see things from many perspectives. We
Mm.
don't have tunnel vision because you listen carefully to what others are saying and you point them in a way in how to see many perspectives to a situation rather than
So
getting into a
profound.
full on debate, of who's better and whose idea is better. No.
Yeah.
Everyone can sit down, tell me how you feel about this. What
Mm.
are the challenges? What are the creative solutions?
Mm.
How do you feel about this?
Mm.
What information do we have to the situation? When we come in that way and unpack conflict, and you find the solutions to every conflict in the workplace, even in the home,
Yeah.
just by addressing the emotional state.
Yeah.
How does it make you feel that your sister or brother spoke so badly to you?
Mm.
And you're allowing the child to vent.
Yeah.
Or
Mhm.
when parents are having an argument, parents should ask the children and say, what, I'm so sorry that I spoke so badly to your mom or your dad.
Mm.
How did that impact on you that I was so rude? I'm
Mm.
very, very sorry. That was a bad example.
Yeah. Mhm.
And this is why, for me, in working over 30 years with women and children, you start developing CEOs in the home.
Yeah.
CEO of self. You become a chief executive officer of yourself. You don't wait to get to a workplace to learn the tools and get skills on leadership. Leadership
Mm.
begins in the mother's womb.
Oh, beautiful. That is so beautiful.
Yes. So children going into school or going into a community, society, or even to the workplace are leaders already. No company can teach you that
Oh
because the
yeah.
parents have done such a sterling job. And this is what I'm seeing with the parents I'm working with and children. What
Yeah.
amazing leaders they have become.
Mm. I love what you're talking about. I think that this kind of not just awareness but building the pathways for people to step back, because usually there's a lot of compartmentalization between home, workplace, and all of this, but it's all integrated because we are whole beings. And if we do the work from the inside to integrate who we are in a very sincere way, it starts to show up everywhere, whether it's in our with for ourselves, for our personal relationships, as well as in our workplaces. So I think we've kind of, I'm looking at the rest of the questions, and it feels like a lot is already being covered through what's downloading through you. But I would like to get a bit more specific for people who probably either know about this but don't know how to start or get into it, or don't know at all. So how would you, in your experience and with your expertise working with leaders, with families, how do we bring more of this conscious, co-creative feminine energy into our realities?
I think it's important because my focus over the years has been women,
Mm.
working with women. So I think it's very important because women are very pivotal in the home. They are the anchor.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can empower them how to heal certain issues, or, there is a way out of a toxic marriage or some challenge that they're going through at home, that
Mm.
there is support out there. The
Mm.
first step is to seek help.
Mm.
The power of intention and prayer is so powerful, right? I don't have to tell you this. So say I've been an abused woman. In that time, I put out the intention, you know what? I want freedom.
Yeah.
I want to live my life on my terms.
Mm-hmm.
Dear God, you show me the way out. And
Mm.
guess what happens? Well, that will become your daily prayer or mantra 24/7. Show me
Mm.
a way out.
Yeah.
I want freedom. I want a life of freedom.
Yeah.
So, what will happen? God and the universe will conspire to bring all the support to you.
Yeah.
Somebody will show up whilst you're shopping or whether you're sitting on the train, on the bus, or supermarket, or wherever you are. Somebody may just show up and may just start chatting to you, and like something happens.
Mm-hmm.
Like the penny drops immediately and say, oh my
Yes.
God, I put this out. I can't believe God sent you as an angel
Mm.
to show me the way.
Yeah.
You see? So I think these tools are important in teaching others. First
Yeah.
and foremost is to write what you don't want,
Hmm.
and then what it is you want, and pray upon that and make that your focus. What
Yeah.
is it that you want?
Mm-hmm.
And that is the starting point, I would say, because
Yeah.
the right help, the right support will show up, because that's what happened for me throughout my life.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, and thank you so much for sharing that because I feel time and again this is my reality. I'm living a very beautiful cycle, which seems to be a very high baseline compared to what I thought I knew of my life. And I realized that, all of the inner work, and Rahila, you know this, you know me for the last few years, and our book that we wrote,
Yes,
so much
yes,
of the way I saw myself, and I can speak this openly because I think our podcast and the theme and being in your presence today feels so aligned with what you're saying. I had to do the inner work to opt to
yes,
release victim programs and narratives, heal myself,
yes,
work with myself sincerely, and then be able to devote myself to a higher level of seeing myself. And it's interesting because in the morning when I'm facilitating my ritualistic practices, prayer, meditation, breath work, I listen to I'm sure you do this too, so I listen to Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith. And today, the message that came through in his teaching was about this affirmation of giving a source and the divine permission, where I'm ready and available to agree to step into this higher unknown wanting of life to express itself through me. And it's like you said, the moment you're already available and you're opening your heart and you're doing the work, signs they start to show up, people start to show up, books, the podcast like this, all these different things. And I'm reminded of the phenomenon of synchronicities because it's important for us to, while we are intentional, we have to also pay attention to those signs. We have to honor them, receive them, nurture them, and be able to harness that so that we are changed from the inside. It's an inside job of transformation. So I'm very, very happy that you shared that. And to our audience, I do believe that what we are talking about and what Rahila has so powerfully shared with respect to transformational, multidimensional, quantum as well, practices of prayer, affirmation, fellowship, study. These are all very, very sacred practices, and I think I might add also, um, excuse me, quite willingly, that a lot of times. The act of prayer is very misunderstood. It's not a begging and a beseeching, but it's really about showing up with courage, with intention, and opening ourselves up to this next stage of our evolution. um,
yes.
Go ahead, Rahila.
Might I add, you spoke about energy. Everything is an energy field, and so is an emotion. So
Mm,
at the time of feeling a toxic emotion, the best thing to do is to sit still,
mm,
right?
yeah.
Feel where in your body you're feeling a certain way, and using your breath just to release and diffuse that.
Mm,
That is the cornerstone of self empowerment, is how to release your toxic emotions.
mm,
Very,
yeah.
very important, because if you are carrying toxic energy within you, like you spoke about, we talk about the law of attraction. Now you have the law of resonance, like
Yeah.
what resonates,
Yeah.
and you will attract that. Like today, we through the law of resonance, we are doing this.
Mm, yeah.
Okay, somehow, I mean, you are in India, I'm in South Africa, but how the universe conspired to let this happen in such a beautiful way.
Yeah.
So this is how energy works.
Yeah.
Your head can't get around it. It's so powerful.
It's
So
not
for
for the
anyone
head.
who's one,
It's not
yeah,
for the head.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think for anyone who's, been like stuck or don't know what to do, the first thing is to change the thought.
Mm,
For as long as you're focusing on negative thoughts, I'm stuck, I'm abused woman, I'm this, I'm poor,
Yeah.
You're always going to remain that way because your energy is in the wrong place.
Yeah.
The moment you shift it and say, you know what, I want to change, I want to have lots of money, I want to have materialism, I want to have healthy, harmonious relationships.
Yeah.
And that's where your focus is. And guess what? That's all you're going to be receiving. It's so simple. It
Yeah.
just comes through, like you said. So rightfully you shared. Everything comes with practice, daily practice.
Yeah.
Discipline. That's what we call discipline.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
and even with parents, always teach them discipline is not punishing your child and
Mm.
telling them you're not going to have this or take away the good things from them. That's not discipline. You
Mm.
discipline children through a discipline, like
Mm.
through art or through the affirmations or through the power of thinking positively. This is a discipline. And
Mm.
when that becomes a discipline, your whole life is discipline.
Yeah. I love it.
And that's how, yeah, yeah. And that's how then you bring the divine male and female because that clot of blood that God created can only be created by the creative source energy. We are that. I am male and female.
Yeah.
You're not either or, right?
Yeah.
However, in embracing the divine feminine in your body in the way you are, is to also welcome the divine father energy. Like we
Mm.
say, Father Sky, Mother Earth. It's it's
Mm.
it's a it's a bit of both. You
Yeah.
can't have one without the other.
Mm. So beautiful. I'm so happy that, I mean, you're such a powerful human being, and, all of the downloads that you're sharing right now. It's just, in myself, it resonates so deeply right now. There's a lot that I intend to facilitate through what we are talking about, because it's like you said, the feminine is only one part. I mean, it's not even a part, it's just is. And for us to be able to fully integrate in a way that we understand it, there's a wholesome nature to it, and how we
Yes,
when we are intentional, we are discerning. I love, something
yes.
that's coming through for me right now is sitting still. I think there is a very magnetic power in sitting still and being able to not just release and alchemicalize lower vibrations, but to be able to tap into higher vibrations too. And it's all there, it's in us, it's all around us. And
Mm.
It's so beautiful what you just said.
I think also, as women, we always caught in a battle, a struggle, and in a fight.
Mm.
So there's a masculine energy, the toxic mass. We all have it.
Yes.
As single moms, what do single moms do? They take on a lot of masculine energy because they become the sole provider, they become the protector,
Yeah.
and all of that, right?
Yeah.
And so often we tend to lose our femininity
Yeah.
because a mother will do anything to protect her children, and provide for
Yes.
them. So often we lose our femininity. And I think with time, this is something also we got to come into awareness of, like, who am I? Why am I so hard? Why am I always like struggling and fighting? Once you
Mm.
let go,
Yeah.
and again, when you write down how you want your life to be, it'll be exactly that,
Yes.
effortless.
I love it. I love it. I want to close loop on what you just said. When we write down exactly who we can become, who we are, and who we can become, you said it earlier on as well. We are the creators, we are the architects to our own life. And the sooner we are able to embrace this law, because it is a law, everything starts to unfold and come towards us, from this recognition, from us honoring this law within ourselves.
Yes. This was so beautiful, Caroline.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me and to share at this level. I think we so get each other.
Yes.
We in sync.
I've done a lot of work, Rahila. I have to say this. I mean, even since our last meets and where I was, like about, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, a lot has
Yeah,
changed
yeah.
for me. I'm sure you can feel into that. I've really been
I know.
sincere. Yeah, I've been sincere about
Yeah.
doing the work, and I have a lot to thank you for. I'm very grateful for your presence in my life. And my thing is to, whatever changes within me, my endeavor is to take it forward in my work, transformational work. So you have
Yes.
been a part of that. And I love the, even though we don't talk as often, maybe it's been years, but it feels timeless with you. We share a soul connection, and it's so easy to have these kind of dialogues with you.
Yes. And Caroline, truthfully, we are all work in progress. I'm not perfect. I'm still working on myself. And this is a message I'd like to leave also for everyone listening, that you can't become an overnight sensation. It took me 30 to 40 years to get to where I am.
Hmm.
So, step by step, it's a slow process, or sometimes it can be accelerated depending on what you're doing. But we're
Mhm.
getting there slowly and surely. We're getting there.
Beautiful.
So,
Thank you. Thank you so much,
thank you.
Rahila, for first of all making the time, being our first guest, for embodying. You walk the talk, you embody the practices, and that's why, I could see in my mind's eye you being, our originator into this podcast series. I wish you, lots of love, lots of prosperity, good health, and you know to continue to shine through your heart like you always do. Thank you for joining me as
Thank
our
you.
guest today.
Thank you, Caroline. And I wish the same for you. And may you keep shining. You are such a beacon of light. You are a huge lighthouse for humanity. Okay, never forget that.
Thank you, Rahila. I felt that in my heart, and I send you lots of love. I want to thank all of
Yeah.
our viewers who have watched in and listened to our guest today, Rahila Khan. Rahila, how do people reach out to you? And maybe also a word about your third upcoming book for everyone to know about.
Yeah, look, it's still work in progress. Once it's out, I will keep you posted. People can find me on LinkedIn, on Facebook as well.
Yeah.
Um, and you know what? Like we speak of energy field and resonance. If I'm meant to meet you, then it will happen. However, it's supposed to be.
I agree. I agree with that 100%. I'm
Look at
seeing
how
that in
we
my
met,
life.
Caroline. Yeah, look at how we
Yeah.
met and reconnected again. So I totally believe in that.
It's been 6 years now. Do you know?
Yes, yes.
It's wonderful.
And the work you're doing is truly amazing. May God give you the strength and the
Wow.
resilience to continue doing what you do, really.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. It's
I
such an
see
honor and
you.
privilege to be.
Likewise, my dear. Mwah, I love you so much.
I love you too, Caroline. Mwah.
Thank
Take
you.
care now. Lots of love as we won't get off.
Yes. And we'd like to say bye to everyone who will be watching in.
Yes, of course.
Thank you
Thank you
for,
so much.
yeah, yeah, thank you for making the time and watching us today. Rahila is right. We can go on and on with the love because it is very felt and very genuine. Thank you. And we look forward to seeing you soon. Bye.
Sure. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.